Are you getting a transplant for somebody you know, or is this going to be an altruistic transplant, or how did that come about?
So my husband is my donor, and
Wow. What are the chances?
I know. So what's great is that I think I started the evaluation process in August at my first appointment. So you basically get evaluated, and then at the very end, when they say that you're approved, you're on the list, then you can start having people test. And Craig, my husband, at the time he was my fiance, half sister, Rebecca, who I've only known for a few years. That's a whole other story, this
Wow.
podcast episode for you. She got tested. They both got tested, and they were both matches.
What?
Yes. And
Wow.
but Craig is a slightly better match. And so he's very excited and, you know, he's bragging about his great kidneys.
Welcome to another episode of the FilterLIFE Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, somebody dear to my heart, Seferiana Day. She's a patient diagnosed with membranous nephropathy, going into some challenges with membranous nephropathy. Seferiana, welcome to our show. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Thank you for having me today. I'm doing well, looking toward I'll talk about, I'm sure a lot today is my transplant in 1 week from today. So I'm doing well. I'm excited and nervous. I'm very happy to be here.
Oh my God. So transplant. Yes, let's talk about that because transplant, by time this airs and it gets out to the public, I think you'll probably already have had your transplant and you'll be on the other side of this. So tell me a little bit about how you feel today. Transplants in a week?
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel?
It feels mentally and emotionally kind of scary. I'm nervous. Physically, I think I started having some kind of more physical symptoms late last week. Like I had some nausea and I had some like tingles in my fingers, which I hadn't really had before. And so I was kind of like, oh, I think it's time. This is a preemptive transplant. So I'm not on dialysis. I've not gotten to that point yet. So I'm really grateful. So I do think it's kind of like it's time and I'm ready. Otherwise, I physically felt pretty good. But yeah, I think I've kind of declined in the last few months. And so it's kind of perfect timing. Emotionally, it's a little bit scary. And so there's a lot of mixed emotions, I would say.
I can imagine. I can only imagine where you're at. The last time you and I got together, man, it was, I think last year, we were more or less kind of feeling on the stable side of things, comfortable in kind of where we were with membranous nephropathy. Now, you and I have some history when it comes to membranous nephropathy. We both serve as the voice of the patient. And I remember sitting there with you talking about that to the FDA and the NIH and those important people that decided to use what we were saying for educational purposes and take it and run with it and go and find things that hopefully can help us. But yeah, wow. So tell me about the decline from going from, I think everything's more or less kind of stable to the health issues or something like that started. When did you first find this out that you were like, man, things are declining a little bit?
Yeah, I think I probably have to pull up my spreadsheet because I have a spreadsheet of every lab that I've ever had since I was diagnosed in 2016. And there was definitely, I remember a time, I want to say it was 2022 maybe, where my GFR got down to 50. And I felt this kind of, it was almost like getting a punch in the gut of like, oh no, this is declining. Because for so long I had been kind of in that like 60 and up stage for GFR. And I felt like this is manageable. But it was really when it started to go down to 50. And then a few months later, it was like 30. And it did not take long for it to go from 50 to 30 out of 100.
How long is that?
Maybe a few months, maybe 6
A
months.
couple months. Okay. Any signs, or was it just you paying attention to your numbers?
I think it was just me paying attention to my numbers. I would see my nephrologist every few months and I would get tested pretty regularly. So I was keeping my labs pretty regularly. And so I could see like there's this downward trend happening. And I think in the last year and a half or so, I was really starting to see the numbers go down into the 20s, and that's when you're like, oh no, it's not going to be long.
right around the corner almost.
Yes.
You're an informed patient. You're one of the most informed patients other than myself that I know. It's got to be difficult to be so well informed about your own disease and being a part of so much advocacy and the efforts. Has the knowledge been like, sometimes you're like too smart for your own good, right? Do you feel like that at all? Do you feel like I know too much?
It's a good question. So during the pandemic, kind of 2020, 2021, I was on pretty low, what I would call kind of conservative treatment. So I was just on losartan and for like high blood pressure, and that was it. I had rituximab treatment in 2017, and it kind of didn't really put me into remission, but I felt like kind of saw my numbers get better. And so my doctor had wanted me to go on Cytoxan, which I had talked about with the FDA. And I had said, like, I didn't want to go on that because it would put me into early menopause. I was about 35 at the time. And so did not want that. My doctor was, really adamant about it. And I actually had to really push her for another round of rituximab. But I ended up, because I felt like that's what helped me um, get better just a little bit. And she was kind of like, I don't know about that. I don't really see an improvement that much. But I really was like, I don't know what else we can do. That actually seemed like it kind of worked. And so she said, okay, let's do another round. Let's do another biopsy. Let's do another round of rituximab. And I actually pushed it off for a year because I thought, well, maybe my partner and I want to have kids. Let's push it off. That ended up not happening. And then I finally said, like, let's go through with it. And I had that rituximab treatment. I think it was in 2023.
And that was the second time you had it, right? You had the first round,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
this was the second round or second, because I know rituximab is given out usually in like 2 and then 2. So it's like you had 2, and then those are usually like a week apart or 2 weeks apart or something like that.
Yeah. This
Was
was a
that the
whole,
same thing for you? Because you had gotten it before rituximab was really like it is today, right? Rituximab is almost a mainstream treatment for something like this. But, in 17, it was not really even known to have any positive results, barely. Yeah. So, I mean,
yeah.
did you get the 2 and then the 2, or did you do 1 and 1?
So in 2017, I did a full round where it was like, at that time, I think it was one a week for 4 weeks. And then
Okay.
yeah. And then in 23, I did two separate, so it was basically one treatment or one round of treatment. And it was like you come in once for one day and then you come in again 2 weeks later. And that was the round, like that was the round of treatment.
Gotcha.
And then I had a follow up, kind of a maintenance dose,
Okay.
which is like one other day, um, about
How
six
long
months
after?
later.
About
About
6 months
6
later.
months,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And so I guess to answer your question about being too knowledgeable, I kind of knew what was good for me and I like pushed for it. And then I kind of looking back, kind of made the mistake of waiting. And then it was almost too late. It was like I felt like the rituximab actually worked for my membranous. Like my albumin was in the green, protein loss was a bit less. I felt things were getting better on the membranous side, but then my kidneys, the biopsy showed that there was scarring and damage, and it was kind of irreversible at that point. And so my actual kidney function was just declining, and it was like too late.
That's interesting because we talk about being smart and things that I know about like rituximab and membranous and how rituximab works on the body and those kind of things. It just is wild that the progression took a turn right after that because it suppressed. It seems like the medicine like suppressed some of the other comorbidities, right? Like the swelling, the albumin levels, the proteinuria, like those things that make us usually emergent. They cause us to go to the emergency room or put us at risk for pulmonary embolisms and blood clots and all those different kind of ailments that we've had. So it kind of put a lot of that stuff at bay, but yet the kidney function itself was still continuing to decline.
So I pulled up my numbers. Looking back in 2022, my GFR was 60 in September of 2022, and then in November of 2022 was 37. So it took 2 months to have that drastic drop.
I'm not trying to dig into your history or anything, but was there anything in that 2 months time span that was happening in your life, that stressful events or any of that kind of stuff that you could pinpoint that was like, huh,
Actually, yeah.
okay.
I mean, yeah, and that it's interesting because I think my therapist also would kind of connect the kidney to like these other kind of mental, emotional parts. But I was going through kind of like a really tough time with my business. I had a business with a very good friend. We ended up breaking up the business. And this was around that time. I think there were some things happening that were difficult, like emotionally difficult, and causing a lot of stress. So yeah, I do think there were times there was maybe a
Yeah.
correlation with that.
Because what we've seen in the research that I've done is significant stress events put a toll on your immune system. And when you have the immune system that already wants to attack something, those stressful events can cause that disease to kind of reactivate and get a little bit more active. So that's why I was wondering, because it declined so fast in 2 months. My immediate question in my head was like, I wonder if she was going through something significantly stressful in that 2 month time period where the disease just kind of just started fueling it. I know stress and stress management is one of the big thing with rare disease and kidney disease in general, and any kind of disease is managing that because it makes our blood pressure go out of whack and those kind of things. So, wow, I appreciate you sharing that with us. I definitely appreciate you sharing that with us. Now, you said you were diagnosed membranous nephropathy back in 2016. Take me back to 2016. What was life like before diagnosis, before kidneys had entered the world, Seferiana's world? What was that like?
And I was working at the city council. I work in politics in local government, and I was working at city council. I think I was running a lot. I was kind of an avid half marathoner. Uh,
Okay.
Not like super competitive, but I loved running. It was kind of what relieved stress, and so I was pretty active, I would say, and also just very active in my community, kind of serving on boards. I think I served on 3 boards at one point of nonprofits,
Wow.
and just did a
Wow.
lot. And so I was just very busy and very kind of socially active and active in my community. And so it was pretty shocking to be kind of halted in this moment, of the diagnosis.
Yeah. Yeah. I bring that up because far too often it's hard for me to remember. I remember life before kidney disease, and it's like it's almost a blank. I know that there was things that I was doing and I was into and all that kind of stuff. You have so many aspirations, and the things that you were looking forward to doing completely have changed, because I know for me, I wasn't looking forward to doing kidney stuff and being some kind of an advocate and run around trying to help people with kidney disease. Like, that was never in my plans. And that's how it happens. Like, it's just one day, almost like a light switch, that where you're going about your regular day, like our listeners are doing now, and then boom, life changes and emergency happens, and we have to figure out how to save our own lives and all these other crazy things. What was it like for you to have to put all that on hold and figure out this weird diagnosis that the doctors were telling you that you had?
Gosh, it was, for one, I think getting the diagnosis, getting the phone call, because I had done all these blood tests and they were testing for lupus and HIV and just all these scary sounding things. Getting that phone call was, I just like didn't know what to do with it. I was like, I don't know what this means. Kidney disease. It was just shocking to me.
Right.
And it really came out of nowhere. I have primary membranous, and so there's really no known cause. And so it was just very surprising. It's just to have to like go on medication I had a bunch of swelling. It was,
How much
you know,
medication did they give you at first? Talk to me about the medication regimen that you were presented with.
that I was presented with. Oh gosh, I know. And I'm getting ready to like get more of that. So I was first given prednisone and cyclosporin.
So like a steroid and cyclosporin is it's a cancer drug, right? It's a
Yeah.
anti-rejection medicine. It's basically like almost like an oral chemo kind of.
Yeah.
I was on that as well, and disgusting stuff, man. I felt like the
It's
insides
really bad.
glow green when you take that medication. But
Yeah.
so did they explain any of this medication to you? So you had the steroid all of a sudden. Did they tell you that your moods were going to change and that your face was going to swell and that any of that kind of stuff? Or did they say, here, eat these, you're good?
I think they kind of talked about like the mood. It basically, with prednisone, a big thing is the mood changing and um, being hungry all the time. Those are kind of the things they talked about. Um, and so yeah, and so I pretty quickly felt that. I pretty quickly felt Like I worked at the council, so I'm taking like phone calls from constituents, and I'm just like, grr, I'm feeling in a bad mood, like an extra bad mood. I actually had like face swelling and had to stop taking the cyclosporin because it was causing these side effects that I was not expecting. Like I don't think they talked about that.
Right, right. That's what I was getting at, is like when they give you all this medication, right? That I think the
Yeah.
doctors don't even know if it's going to work or not, but yet they just want you to eat it all and don't really prepare you for that roller coaster that's coming. Because I mean, it's every time you eat the pill, man. There's no, you can't get away from it. You know what I mean? It's coming.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the industry could do a lot better job
Hmm.
educating us on what to expect, because when I listen to like medications, here's a big difference, right? So like I take a medication for my kidneys to slow the progression of my kidney disease called Jardiance. It's a pretty
Yeah.
popular medication that's out there now. So I take that medication and I feel like I have zero side effects from that medication, other than it makes me it makes me pee a little bit more than I would want. Other than that, I haven't experienced any negative, what I would consider a negative side effect from that medication at all. When I see the commercial on TV that's talking about slowing the progression of the kidney disease, and then it has like the little words at the bottom and it says, this may cause, like, your eyes may fall out, bleeding through the ears, like your arms will fall off, and you're like, what? Like, I take this? Good thing I haven't experienced any of those symptoms. It was the first time I had seen a commercial about this drug that I was taking, and I was just like, huh, nobody told me about any of that.
Hmm.
Did you experience any crazy weird side effects when you took some of this medication?
I think with the cyclosporin, I had a bit of face swelling. With rituximab, or maybe it was actually even with cyclosporin, I would get sick all the time. I really felt like I would catch every cold. With other drugs, I think, you know, because kidney disease causes things like high cholesterol and high blood pressure, I've been on those medications as well, and those medications cause side effects. And so, for example, amlodipine will cause sort of heart palpitations or a little bit of tremors. So I definitely noticed those kinds of side effects.
Wow, I didn't even pay attention to all that. Maybe that's where my little heart palpitations and tremors come
Yes.
from.
I'm also on Jardiance, and I feel like I don't know if it did much to stabilize my kidneys, but
Did it slow the progression? Not in those 2 months, it didn't.
no. But you know what? I don't mind losing all the sugar and like
Yeah, so
losing a little weight
that's
is fine.
also been a little bit of a plus with my rituximab. My arthritis, my left knee was scoped surgically to scrape out the arthritis in my knee. I was getting ready to have the right one done. I know I have arthritis in my joints and stuff, but after my rituximab, I was like, what arthritis? No
Wow.
arthritis. And that's what the rituximab was originally designed to treat, was people with rheumatoid arthritis. So I don't know if I had rheumatoid arthritis or not, but I don't right now. My arthritis has kind of gone away, which is really good. And losing the sodium and the glucose instead of the proteins has been beneficial for me as well, because you just kind of gets those unnecessary toxins out. So yeah, you get sometimes you get some positive side effects.
So you were kind of talking about Jardiance and the
How it failed to slow the progression of your kidney disease during, yeah.
but then the kind of good side effects of like slimming down a little bit and not,
Yeah.
I don't feel so bad when I drink a soda pop. I'm like, oh, this is
Right, it had a little bit too much salt on that, so,
yeah.
Jardiance, yep, just gonna take my Jardiance tonight, we'll be good to go. Absolutely. Well, Seferiana, you've done a lot of work in the kidney space. You continue to do a lot of work in the kidney space as a patient advocate. How has that what is there a transition that you've had to make from going from emergent patient, to stable, more or less what we consider stable advocate, to emergent patient again, but now we're emergent patient to the point where like we need a transplant and now we need somebody else's kidney. Walk me through how that came about for you.
Yeah, so for several years, I was volunteering with NephCure. At times, I felt happy to share my story. I also kind of felt like I'm cruising along here. I'm not having any issues. I'm feeling good. Uh, and then in the last year, I knew that my kidney function started to really decline, and at the same time, this is maybe just a coincidence, but I also joined the Patient Family Partnership Council of the Kidney Health Initiative. That's a really great organization that kind of partners patients, FDA, and industry. And I'm kind of on this patient voice panel or group of other patients and family members. My doctor in 2025 in July said, I think you need to get started getting tested and getting evaluated. And so around August is when I had my first evaluation appointment to basically get on the transplant list.
Now you're out there in Seattle. What was
I'm out here
your
in Seattle.
you were stage 4 at the time?
I was stage 4.
Okay.
And the testing, the evaluation process can take several months. There's 2 day-long appointments, and then you have to get all of your exams in order and do everything, kind of all age-appropriate tests. And
Now, did you anywhere specific, did you contact somebody like, "Hey, I went to this organization because I needed a transplant," or did you just call your local transplant court, like hospital, or how did that come about?
so my nephrologist basically referred me to Virginia
Okay.
Mason is where I'm going.
Virginia
She
Mason, I
referred me
gotcha.
there. I got in to their transplant center and just started the process. And so at the same time, I was part of the Patient Family Partnership Council, and they were kind of building up this group that was studying immunosuppressants and the side effects of them. So I'm on this kind of panel with other patients who've had transplants. And there's, one of them has had 2, another person has had 3, another person's a mom whose child has had 2 transplants. And so I'm hearing from them all of their stories. And I'm sitting here like, I've not had a transplant yet, but I'm in the process of getting evaluated. And so that I'm kind of seeing in real time my advocacy shift from I have this rare disease to I'm about to go through a transplant, and how is my experience going to inform my advocacy, like in very real time?
Right.
Because we're actually building out, we actually submitted an abstract, kind of a proposal to a conference that's coming up in June, and we actually got approved. So we're going to be doing a panel in partnership with some drug developers and really showing like the patient experience.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
very
huge.
exciting. Yeah, it's really great. But yeah, I'm seeing it kind of change in real time,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, I can imagine. I mean, it's like this shift that's happening and it's only a week away or so, it's coming.
Yes. Yeah.
Based on what you know about transplant, but yet not going through it, what do you expect on the outcome, on the other side of this? What expectations do you have either for yourself or for the industry?
For myself, I expect there to be side effects from the medication. Unfortunately, I do know that they're different for everyone. So I'm just kind of waiting to see what those are. I think that I'm telling myself I have to be a good advocate for myself because I'm a very good advocate for others.
Mhm. It's
And
the
it's like
hardest
really
thing to
easy.
do is be an advocate for ourselves.
Yeah, and, like, I can tell my story all day, but when you're in with the doctor or the pharmacist, like, it's hard to say, "Hey, this isn't working, and this is why," and I really want to prepare myself to do that, to really point out, these are the side effects, and this is what's not working, and knowing that there are options. That's something I kinda learned even last week talking to my PFPC group. They were kind of telling me because I told them I'm a little scared, I'm nervous, and they're like, "Don't you worry, and you have choices here." And so it's like knowing mentally, like I have choices, I can ask for things, but then also emotionally preparing to be that advocate, to ask for what I need. Those are the things I'm kind of expecting and hoping for myself.
Have you thought about membranous nephropathy reoccurrence at all? Has that
Yes, I have.
has that
Definitely Googled it. I've done a little bit of research, but not extensively. I know it's a possibility, but I also know that so far my numbers have been good, so I'm hopeful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I was originally diagnosed by a doctor that I ended up having to fire from our medical team, that was like the first thing they had told me. It's the very first thing I learned about membranous nephropathy. It was scared the crap out of me, and it found out that it's not true. But that's what
Mm,
I had believed for so long, that you have membranous, it's got a high reoccurrence rate, which is actually doesn't have that high of a reoccurrence rate. But in comparison to some, so it's like man, and I had an EGFR 27 when I was diagnosed. So that was on my block of choices was transplant or dialysis. Well, the doctor immediately took transplant off the table for me mentally
Oh,
by saying you'll never qualify, dude. They're not ever going to waste a kidney on you because of the reoccurrence. So that's what I was being
I
told in the
see.
VA hospital system. It just kind of put that pressure on a little bit more as like transplant's not an option for me. I had always thought that for a long time
Wow.
until I was able to educate myself and realize that, man, maybe it can be an option for me regardless of reoccurrence rate. I started meeting all types of people that had rare kidney diseases and had transplants and they had reoccurred and they have gotten 2, 3 transplants before in the past. And it made me feel a little bit better that
Mhm.
if things were to take a turn for the worst, people, like you in very similar situation can turn around and use the system that we're trying to advocate for ourselves and go and get a transplant and those kind of things. Now, how did you find transplant? Are you getting a transplant for somebody or is this going to be an altruistic transplant or how did that come about?
So my husband is my donor, and
Wow. What are the chances?
I know. So what's great is that, I think I started the evaluation process in August, had my first appointment, and then so you basically get evaluated, and then at the very end, when they say that you're approved, you're on the list, then you can start having people test. And Craig, my husband, well, at the time he was my fiance, half sister Rebecca, who I've only known for a few years. That's a whole other story. This
Wow.
podcast episode for you. She got tested. They both got tested, and they were both matches.
What?
Yes. And
Wow.
but Craig is a slightly better match. And so he's very excited and, you know, he's bragging about his great kidneys. But yeah, he's my donor and we're getting ready to host our parents at our house this weekend because they're going to be our caregivers.
They're gonna be the that was gonna be my next question was like, okay, so you're down, husband's down. Is there anybody else at home?
The dog and the cat are going
The
to
dog and the
be,
cat are gonna take care of you guys all the time. Bring me my ice chips, you know? Wow. Okay.
yeah.
So the parents are coming down too. That's awesome, man. I'm so glad. I'm so happy for you that he was a match. Go figure that two people you have that say, hey, I'll do it. He really put that to the test, huh? In sickness and in
Yes.
health, man. I love it. I
Yeah,
love it.
we got married in November because we were going to get married this September, but then the transplant came up and our doctor was like, you should just get married now. And so we did. We put together a beautiful, quick, small wedding. And in his vows, he talked about the kidney. And so it ended
Wow.
up working out. Like before he knew he was a match, he put the kidney in his vows. So it's
Well,
very staying
congratulations.
true.
That's awesome. I'm so happy for you. That's so awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And he
Thank you.
tested and he qualified. He was a match. You're like, wow. You know, that's cool. That's really cool. That's really cool. I like that. That's not a story you hear very often when it comes to kidney disease and transplant stories and those kind of things. It doesn't happen that often. But the more you have the conversation, this is what we're learning. The sooner you have the conversation, you were paying attention to your numbers. You're paying attention to your health. You're tracking the decline yourself. You're not waiting for the doctor to tell you, hey, Seferiana, we need to have a conversation. You're taking that. So that's all of the things that you've learned and that you talk and you tell other people to do. You did that yourself. So you were doing that actively. And then you were able to catch this decline sooner than later. You didn't have to crash into the ER, crash into dialysis, and then turn up for this emergency transplant search, which is so common how it usually happens for most of our patients. Wow, that's a miracle story, Sefriana. I love that. I love the story. It's awesome. The doctor's orders. You guys have to go get married. Take your cyclosporin and your prednisone and go get married real quick and come back and see me in 3 weeks.
Yeah, and like because we saw her so many times. Like we saw her in October. She's like, "Go get married." So we did in November. Then we come back in December. We're like, "We're married. We did
We're
it."
married now. What?
And now I'm going back to see her this Friday, and I'll say I'm getting a transplant.
There
So
you
I'm like,
go.
we're doing everything you said.
We're doing it. We're doing all the things. We hired our mom and dad to come help us. because we
Exactly.
need a support system and those kind of things. Did they check on that at all for
Oh,
you?
yeah.
Like they were like, okay, well, if your husband's going to donate, how
Yep.
serious were they about that?
They're pretty strict that you have to have a caregiver for 6 weeks, basically 24/7. But for the recipient, and then for the donor, you have to also have a caregiver, and so you have to be able to show that. So my mom will come be my caregiver. Craig's dad is coming to be his, and then once Craig is more healed up, he can be mine. Send our parents on their way. A few weeks with mom will be great.
Yeah, yeah, 6 weeks. You'll be ready for them to go, I'm sure. Both of you, like, I can't wait.
It's a small house. We have a small
Yeah. It'll be interesting. It's awesome. That's cool. Well, Seferiana, I want to close out our podcast, number one, by saying thank you for showing up today. I can't thank you enough for being here. I'm excited for you. I can't wait for you to come back on our show so we can talk to you post transplant and see how that went. And we can talk about the good and the bad, the ugly, the cool, the fun, and how aggravating it was to have your parents with you for 6 weeks, but yet how much of a blessing it was to have your parents with you for 6 weeks.
Yes. Yes.
Before we leave, I want to ask you this same question that I ask everybody on our podcast. What does the word filter life and living a filter life mean to Seferiana?
It's a great question. Because as I kind of wind down my work, I'm at work right now in my office. It's hard for me. I've never not worked. And I think that taking time off is going to be a difficult thing, slowing down, but it's also like filter life reminds me of bringing in the things that are going to help me recover and kind of silencing the rest. And that's really difficult for me. So I think it's going to be like almost a spiritual practice of, you know, taking care of myself, which I'm going to cry a little bit. Gets me emotional just because that's really difficult to do.
Yeah, I understand that. But you're going to do it. You've done it before. We've been here before. We're just going to be here in a little bit of a different capacity,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I appreciate that. I love that. We got to filter in the things that matter the most. Filter off the nonsense. Turn the TV off.
Yeah.
Sometimes
I
I got to
know.
get off of the social media. I got to just go for a walk or lay with the dog or something like that. You know what I mean? And just focus on something else. So yeah, filter in the things that can help you and provide you joy, and filter out the things that are just a weight, ball and chain that you don't need to drag around with you, because you're already dragging around membranous, but that thing's about to go away here. So that's going to be awesome. That's going to be
Yeah.
awesome. Well, Seferiana, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for just being the human that you are. And tell your husband, thank you from us, from me, and at the Illicit Kidney Foundation for him signing up to be a donor for you is amazing. We'll touch base with you on the other side of this transplant, okay?
Great. Can't wait.
All right. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. You too.